There we go. Let's try that.
Can you hear us now?
All right, she's giving us
All
a
right.
thumbs up. All right.
So why
see
don't we
you.
try the winter sports update again?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Can.
There we go. Let's try that.
No. No.
All right. she's giving us a thumbs up. All right.
So why don't
Try that again.
Can you hear me? Okay,
Yes, we can.
perfect. I'm not going to share my screen. I'm just going to give you a quick update about winter sports. Cross country started Monday. It was awesome to see them out there. We have 7 signups and a few more expected. Coach Nancy has done an incredible job taking over cross country. So it's nice to see them out there. Girls basketball is slated to play Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Typically there's a heat modification that we have to follow for the MIA, but today we had to follow the cold modification guidelines. So we had to cancel today. So they are going to be beginning tomorrow in boys as well. So that's awesome. It's really exciting to see that. I was on the Board of Health tonight for spring sports. They gave us the green light for spring sports. I will not have to go back to a meeting. They're not going to micromanage spring sports. So my proposal stated to follow EEA guidelines, MIA guidelines, with those specific sport guidelines slated to begin April 26th. And that was for baseball, softball, girls lacrosse, boys lacrosse, and girls and boys volleyball, and playing other schools for baseball, softball, lacrosse for girls and boys, and boys volleyball. So the only obstacle that we're going to have now is whether or not boys volleyball will actually be able to be inside. So I will need the school committee to give us their blessing on the sports proposal as well. And again, I just have to work out the boys volleyball being inside.
Awesome. And are we still doing the co-op for cross country? Is it cross country that we're doing a co-op South Hadley students or no?
We do have the co-op. It does exist, but they have track in fall too. So they're athletes that they run both actually.
That's
So,
right. I forgot.
so that's all.
That was pretty fantastic.
Yeah, lots of great news.
I like it. We had a question for you about busing, but I don't remember. I wrote busing, but does anyone remember what we wanted to ask her about busing?
Yeah, Ally, so they,
For sports.
there's no more, capacity limits for, buses for, going forward, but I think Stephanie had a question about how that affects athletic buses and our teams on athletic buses. Capacity wise, just figured you would be able to speak to more of that if there's any additional details regarding athletic transportation.
Yeah, we would follow the same transportation guidelines. I would just expect that they would be wearing a mask on the bus.
Yeah, all that safety place, windows open, masks, all that, but they just lifted the capacity restrictions, and again, there was a specific to athletics question, and I didn't want to say anything that wasn't true, so I just deferred to you. So.
Pending the size of baseball, they would baseball numbers. I think we have a significant amount of baseball players in the program. They would need to take 2 buses, keep them separate. And lacrosse is a varsity only sport for both boys and girls, and similar with softball. We really won't know until we have signups done.
Excellent. Does anyone have any other questions for Ally for winter sports / spring sports now?
All right, actually, hold on. Did we vote on football last meeting?
I thought we did.
Right, we did?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're good. Never mind. Nope.
All right, Audrey, superintendent search.
The position closed yesterday. Well, not the position closed, but
Posting.
the application process, as I said it, I was like, oh, the application closed yesterday, and the subcommittee is meeting tomorrow to do some initial vetting, which is something that usually would be done through mass, but because we didn't utilize them as we were using them in the past, Our subcommittee is working on that. And then we are meeting again on the 8th and on the 10th to go over the applications that make it to the next level and kind of going from there. And then hoping to do interviews the week of the 15th. Our first initial interviews to come up with some candidates to bring forth.
Excellent.
So, moving along. Anything to add that you can think of that I missed?
No, just looking forward to some nice long meetings.
Yes.
They're all long meetings.
Well, and that's, yeah, that's
For that purpose.
right. Yes. More long meetings.
Different
Yeah.
purpose,
Yeah.
long meetings.
Yes.
Okay, next up is the medication administration policy.
Hi, everyone. So as part of the application process for the state, where we have to renew our medication delegation and EpiPen training for school staff, particularly when nursing staff's not available, such as field trips, we have to review our medication administration plan to make sure it's in alignment with the state regulations. So I went through it. And they provide a checklist with different things just to make sure it's in there. And I gave you a copy. You should have it in your folder. I think you've had it for a little bit. That goes over the current policy in the areas that are in yellow or the additions. And then the blue areas are already things that are being done by the school nurses, but I wanted to highlight and have reminded them as part of their nursing practice. So one thing that was added was, talking with the nursing staff is to encourage and support the participation of parents in their students' medication administration plan. So making sure that nursing and parents or guardians are communicating as needed about the student's health status and any changes to medication or their status in school. And then as well as any medications that might be given at home that can impact the student's learning in the educational setting and during school-sponsored events. The next area that I had reviewed with the nursing staff is just making sure that their medication administration plan, the student's plan, also references any other health or educational plan that's being developed through IDEA, so the special education law or federal laws, including IDEA in section 504. So we've made sure that that's included on our med administration plan paperwork. We've also included students who may have allergy or asthma action plans or individualized healthcare plans, just to make sure that those are in there as well and they all are connecting. So it's not just one lone document. Another addition that was added was that the school nurses, we've already done this in practice, but making sure that we are having a plan in place to ensure that the positive identification of a student who's receiving the medication. So we have, we're following the 8 rights of medication administration, and we are also asking families to provide pictures. If not, we try to, get them off a Redicar. We put them on the original pharmacy label packaging so that, nurses are double checking, making sure that that medicine that they're giving is meeting the name that's on the bottle and the student that's physically in front of them by comparing that with the picture while they're doing their checks. This is particularly important, especially if we have subs, if nurses are coming in to cover on field trips and whatnot as well. One of the other additions that was added was making sure, especially for staff who are delegating medication to, making sure that they're meeting the equivalent. They have a high school, they're a high school graduate or an equivalent. They're able to make sound judgments, read and write English, and meet all the other qualifications under the law. And then obviously reminding the nursing staff as well that we can only keep up to a 30-day supply of medication in the schools. And then making sure that obviously if there's any issues that we are reporting it to the Department of Public Health and that they can come in at any time and review students' records to make sure that they are in compliance with the medication administration policies, to making sure that we are doing what we're supposed to be doing safely. So those are pretty much the edits to the policy itself. The school physician has already reviewed it and has given his approval. So it was important that I review this too as we are finishing the process for our application with the state.
Do you need a vote on this from us?
Yes, I think we do, just to make sure that it's, approved and everything's good to go.
Okay, can I have, does anyone have any other questions for Nancy or comments?
Before we approve it, I'm just can't help myself. There's a couple grammatic things I'm noticing. Are we gonna like double check proofread? It'll like all that'll be.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Sorry. So it's like just so we're not like sign sealing this one and then someone reads it and is like, wait a minute. Okay. I'll make
Yeah,
the-
this is the draft form, so I'm going to be removing all the highlights and going through everything one more
Okay, so
time.
I will make the motion to approve the medication administration policy for the Granby Public Schools.
Someone second? Yeah. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you mind moving the sprinkler system up before school choice?
Sure.
That should be a quick conversation. No, Ally hanging on. I'm assuming the
Sure.
school choice conversation is gonna be lengthy.
Of course. Sprinkler system. Is there something in our folder on that? I don't see anything.
Exciting.
I don't know if there'll be anything in your folder for it. I can certainly share with you what I have for information, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. For the past, I don't know, my time, I'll use my time as athletic director. I've received numerous feedback from parents in the community, referees that come to Granby Junior Senior High School, athletes, you name it. I've heard it about the need to fix the fields in the back of the school. We do the best that we can. I've gone with treating the fields with an organic mix because we're pretty limited with what we can do back there. And I don't expect the community to know what we have going on back there, but we have wells and we have test sites and we have a lot of things that we can't put on the fields. Currently right now we have a sprinkler system on the varsity baseball field, as well as varsity main field, which is the one that has that gravel track around it. So the proposal that we have that we got from PJ, for those of you who don't know, Peter Gay, we have a proposal with several community members looking to update and replace our current sprinkler system. So I would say update our, Adam, help me out with the thing, and the pump is, help me out with the words here, that thing in the little building.
Yeah, so essentially there's a water source in the way back of the school that is naturally fed through rain, that we pull water from and then use to sprinkle, use to water the fields. What Allie's been working on and has gotten done is, like she said, a couple companies, community members, to put all new piping, essentially ditch that system and put a whole new system in for us at a relatively cheap cost, which would significantly enhance watering those fields in the back. So that's what Allie's proposal.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. We have, the proposals include, like I said, community members, people that have graduated from Granby Junior Senior High School, which is even cooler, that they are going to be volunteering their time, right? And excavating and putting, like Adam said, new piping in and making, bringing the sprinkler system up to par to a point where it will run, by an app on a phone. So it is long overdue. I watch the athletes out there on the field, running through dirt. And again, we're really limited with what we can do. The town has a lot of control over the fields in the back to a point where nothing organic is going to help our fields. Okay. And we need loam brought in. It doesn't make any sense. I don't know all the basics about having a green lawn, but I can tell you that we have dirt and we try to plant seed and grow grass, and it does, and it looks great for 4 weeks. And then we play, a few games on it and it's dirt again. So this proposal that we have, and plan to fund, we can break ground as early as March. Well, we're in March. Well, as early as this month, and get it going. It's long overdue. And our athletes deserve it, and the community deserves a nice place to play. We have a great sports program and one of the worst fields.
So is there a cost to us, or is it something that's, essentially you can, wow. Is there an additional cost to us, or is it within your budget that you have already?
It's within our budget I have right now. And we're, like I said, we're getting a lot of labor for free. And it's pretty incredible that PJ and his team have come up with this. And I'm so grateful. Like I said, Jen, it's long overdue. So.
Well, I know. I watched my first share of games back there.
Yeah. When we talk field improvements, this is the first step. And, we did receive a quote for, the second field, and it's long overdue, and we want to see this happen. And we want people to, come to Granby and be excited about playing, not come to Granby and worry about spraining their ankles.
So what do you need from us? Do you need a vote from us, or do we need, what is it that you're wanting from us for tonight?
Blessing. Your blessing, the green light, your support, because again, it's not something that we can put a Band-Aid on. I think we're all tired of Band-Aids, and our athletes deserve, and all of our community members. We have parents that walk that track. We have parents out in the back. Everybody deserves a better place, and I will tell you, a lot of the people that maintain Brown Ellison are the same people that would be, doing the work here.
Excellent.
So we're keeping it in town, which is really cool.
Yeah. Is there any other questions?
Yeah, so at this point, this would be no extra to the budget of anything?
No,
So right
no,
now,
it's within
this is-
her.
yeah.
Fortunately, due to the pandemic, we've had, Ally's seen some savings, so we can use those to, but like she said, it's the first phase.
Yeah.
We can't do much work out there unless we have a reliable water source
Right.
to help these fields,
So then I guess first of all, thank you so much to the people that are willing to, take this
Mhm.
on. I feel like that should definitely be noted and said. But then also, so going forward, is there going to be additional expenses, obviously maintaining a field? in
Yeah,
here?
so Ally.
I'm just curious what the mushroom effect as.
Yeah, so Ally in her budget on a yearly basis has what she was referring to, seeding organically, whatever that is. So that's a constant in her budget.
Yep.
This will help us out.
Right, rather than seeding pointlessly and not being able to.
Yeah,
get
and
water.
like she said, it doesn't last. It lasts for 4
Right.
weeks, and then it turns into essentially a parking lot out
Yeah.
there. So I can see your concern. Are we just essentially throwing money away? But
Right.
this is the first step in hopefully putting some type of plan together back
Okay.
there. We want to do fences for the baseball fields, for the softball fields. We want to do stuff like Ally said that'll attract, resident teams to come play here, outside town teams to come play here, generate some revenue for us. We have a pretty
Turn that into a
extensive
building
plan.
and field
Yeah, we
use.
have a pretty extensive plan, but this is the first step.
Okay.
And we can cover it this year. And when we want to go to the next phases, obviously, Ally and I will come before
Okay.
you guys and give you all the details.
Right, but obviously they can't break ground without our approval. So I'm going to make the motion.
Can I actually ask
Go
one
ahead,
other,
sorry.
no, I've got
Sure.
one other question. And I think it's amazing that this is even being brought up to us. So thank you for everyone who's making this happen. It's definitely needed and super appreciated. My question is, would this be like an energy efficient system? Is that something that we can kind of move towards our green?
So that's a good question, and maybe after you guys approve it, me and Ally can get together with a couple of the companies that are gonna be doing this to get those details. I don't know,
Okay,
but we can certainly get that information.
awesome. I just think it could be an opportunity to add on to, our green community.
So question, would
Literally.
water collection be the same?
What's that? I'm
Would
sorry.
Water collection?
Yeah, it's naturally fed, so it's all the way in the back, it feels, so it's naturally fed, so.
Right. I meant more of like just the, like whatever
No,
they're
I
installing,
understand.
just because,
Yeah.
I know that every penny counts towards that green,
Yeah, so that's a town thing, though, the green, we fall under it, but it's a town thing. So this is
Right.
Separate from the town, but we can. if
Right,
you
but I
want,
thought that like
can
we have gotten some grants from it, from being part of, right, like.
The green community, yeah.
Yeah, so just,
Yep.
it just seems like a win-win to
Certainly.
look into, that'd be great.
We can certainly do that.
Okay, so Audrey made the
I
motion.
will make the motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second. Any final questions? I'm developing a stutter. Oh, Lord. Okay, all those in favor? Aye. And thanks very much, Ally, for bringing this forward, and thanks very much to PJ and the other people that he has. This is amazing, and I can't wait to see what kind of good stuff they get out there.
Thank you, Jen, for moving that up, because
No problem.
You don't think this next topic's gonna go quick?
am I?
Okay.
Stephanie, are you setting me up?
Never.
So the next thing that's gonna have people excited
You guys
is
are both setting me up.
school choice. Yeah.
So Alex, I need you, because I can't do this at the same time, I need you to let Bill share his screen.
Let me double check to make sure I gave that permission. Bill should be able to share it. Great.
So before I have Bill share his screen, there's really some misconception about school choice in this district. And school choice has allowed this district to keep small class size. Because when your numbers went over, you want small numbers in your early grades. It's the philosophy of this district. When I came here, all I hear is about our small class size, that we're able to meet the needs of our students. And how you've been able to do that is when you end up with 25 kindergartners, you open up seats for school choice to pay for a third teacher. And so it has benefited the district in that way. You've been able to have those small class sizes and not have kindergartens or first grades with 25 students in it. So when people, like right now, you say school choice, people get anxious about it. But I'm hoping that you will see that it has been a benefit for this district and has provided you an opportunity to keep those small class sizes. Because by bringing in 10 more kids, you're able to fund a teacher for that other class.
I think just because it's in my mind and I can't help it, but the other part that we have to remember is that unfortunately for Granby, we need school choice because we underfund our schools as a town. And that's really the end of the story right there.
Right.
Yes, the state has a certain amount that it says that we need to put in, but every town puts in extra. It's part of it. We should be able to use school choice towards the extras, towards other things, but we're using it towards operations because we are underfunding our schools.
Case in point would be the sprinkler system for the athletic field. They
Right.
should be able to go to school choice and
Correct,
not
from
have
that.
any second thoughts about it. But like you
Correct.
said, I'm glad you brought it up now. It'll be brought up in a little
Right.
bit. but-
Because that is, and then that's what hopefully, while we still have some attention captured potentially, that I hope people are hearing this because
Yeah.
that is the true.
So my thing, I just, perspective of coming from a finance side, these are not guaranteed revenue. So we should never be using it for the operations of school because they are not a guaranteed revenue. This type of revenue should be used for basically beautifying the school, using it for athletics, because athletics are not academics, those are outside of academics, but they are part of the school system. So like, we want to upgrade the fencing, we want to do the fields, this is what school choice funding should be used for. It should not be used and be relied on for the operations of school. It just shouldn't.
Right, and I was even gonna mention what Carol said about, it can pay for that teacher. Honestly, it shouldn't even be paying for that third teacher. It should be going into these extras. So that even in your own explanation was like kind of a cringe point because it shouldn't be going to pay a teacher that is operational. It should be going towards those extras. We also just need to be mindful that we are still trying to figure out our own spacing within East Meadow. That is an elephant in the room that still needs to be addressed, and that this, I hope, is no attack on school choice families. Like I love that people want to come to Granby. We want to embrace them in our community. We need to make sure that we have the room for them. But like, it is frustrating while people are here. I know that was it already last winter? We had Tracy Novak come and do a presentation on funding that's still on the website, I believe, and it showed our school funding compared to many, many surrounding towns, including bigger municipalities, and we are the second lowest funded in our area. The only one under us is Holyoke, who is funded by the state.
Correct.
So that really does tell you something in itself, and is another, thing like Audrey said, while people are listening, I hope that they realize like it's a big problem within our community that we need to, work to
Fix.
So
fix.
it is a big
And that was
problem,
before the reduction.
but,
Yeah.
so here's the thing, so it's the evil that we're living with.
It
I
is.
mean, it would be great if we can snap our fingers and make this go away, but this is the way that the people well above us, our pay grade, have decided that we're doing things. So right now, we need to figure out how to make this work, how to make it work within the size of our building,
Yep.
how to make it work to keep people happy.
Yep.
I mean, we've got a big gap. I think you said we're up to possibly 28. We're missing up to 28 and discussions that we had, but I think your presentation shows 20. And I spent some time looking at it, but we can't just say, oh, well, this is what we want to use the school choice money for. This is how we want to do it. Fact is, right now, what we use the school choice money for is to run the school.
Yep.
And like Audrey said, and Stephanie has said, and Jen has said it previously, and Jill, I'm sure you'll say it during this. We need to make sure, however we work the school choice, so I'm talking like with a split tongue right now, but we have to be super careful that we don't put ourselves in the same position that we just went through. I know, Carol, that we've talked about the whole sixth grade transition, and that's still very fresh in everyone's minds. I feel like,
I knew my boundaries.
and I hate that we even have to frame it like that. Like, we should be able to have conversations. So, I don't know. I mean,
Well, Bill's going to share his screen and so that we can go through this.
great,
So
great.
did you give Bill permission to share?
Yep, all panelists have permission to share their screen.
Okay.
I'll read it. It's in your folder though. You can look at it on your
I
own.
didn't see it.
Yeah, it's in the folder if you have it. So basically what we did is we're looking at current 2021 enrollment, and we're including students who have left the district. Because one of the big things that many of you were concerned about was how are we going to identify schools' choice seats if we have residents who, new withdrawals is what they're deemed on this chart, new withdrawals, who left this year because of the changes in our structure. So when, you have a question already, Audrey?
Yes, because the new withdrawal is the first one after the yellow column, correct? New withdrawn for choice out.
Yep.
Choice out or new withdrawn for homeschool?
No,
Okay.
so you
It's in
have,
each category.
you
Okay.
have all the categories.
Yeah.
Okay?
Thank you.
So we looked at all of this in making the decisions. We didn't just look at residents and non-residents.
They can see this, right? People on the
Yeah.
Zoom can see.
Yeah. Yes.
I just had a brain fart and I was like, oh gosh, they're not seeing this. We're talking about and they can't see it.
So, Bill, if you can go to the next screen. Next slide. So this lets you know where they're going.
Okay.
So where are our students from Granby that have left and gone elsewhere? And this screen is focusing on school choice.
Is that from just this year?
This is all of them. This is all of them.
Oh, what?
This year and previous school choice out.
Any
Any
choice
school
out ever, this year and previous. So you have currently 60 students that leave the district for school choice.
Now, do we recall what it was last year? I'm just curious for that.
It's coming up in the trend.
Okay. I already did look at this online.
Next screen, Bill. This is the number currently of students going to charter schools, which also we have to fund. So we're putting money out for 60 kids to go to other districts, and we have 22 that are going to charter schools. As you were talking about trending, the next slide shows you, so we have, and I gotta pull mine up so I can see it. So you have resident 20.
And Pathfinder.
So, no, because those, when they go to vocational and Pathfinder, they withdraw from here. But it's paid by the town. It's not,
We have a compact.
yeah, we have a compact with them, yes.
Okay.
So in 2019, 2020, we had 605 residents. We had 119 school choice in. We had 66 school choice out and 17 charter. This school year, you can see our in-school, our resident enrollment has dropped. It's down to 575. Our school choice in is at 109, which is also a drop. And then we still have 60 and 22 students that went out. This year, we're predicting enrollment at, this is terrible, probably can't read it. I think it says 5.
And say if you download it, you can zoom your screen bigger and smaller.
It should be in your in the folder that you can see it anyway, so you don't have to look at this one. You should be able to look at the one.
No, I've got it in front of me, but it's colored, so that's why I can't read it. But I think it's 561,
81,
581,
101,
101,
50.
50, and 27. So as you can see, we're shrinking. And so therefore, our revenue is shrinking as well. So can you go to the next slide, the financial impact? So as everybody said, Granby does fund their operating budget using school choice. And so currently on school choice, we have 10 teachers and 4 custodians at a cost of $725,302. Our projected revenue, based on the information we have currently for the returning school choice students, is $606,000. And basically what we have a deficit of $119,302. So the payments that are going out are around $660,000 to charter and school choice. And basically minimum number of school choice seats that we need to bring in is 20.
So the only way that we pay for these 10 teachers out of the school choice money?
Yeah, essentially, yeah, and we really shouldn't be, but best practice would also not to be paying custodians out of school choice, right? That they should be part of our operating budget, because our operating budget is 85-90% salary and 10-15% of, I'm gonna say, discretionary funds. When we see a reduction in revenue, aside from cutting small things here and there, it really can impact the classroom. Now, we've been able to maintain it for the last few years.
Yeah.
But with, continued reduction in funding from the town, we saw some decrease in Chapter 70 this year. If we don't sustain school choice and accept just that minimum number to keep us level funded, essentially, it might turn into cutting staff. And that's unfortunately, we don't want to say it and nobody wants to hear it, but that's unfortunately, that's the consequence when we use the school choice to help fund our operating budget. We have no other choices.
And with the number of students, it's not like we can say, then we're not going to do school choice. You don't really have, kids leave and the money goes with them. So either way, you would have to balance that $600,000 of that's left. You somehow have to put it back in.
So I don't know if I'm not reading this right, but is there, how many kids school choiced out just this year because of the pandemic?
No. This is, you have 60 students, new this year, if we continue on, new this year, you had new homeschooled. So if you go to the last page, we'll skip the page where we identified. So you have new withdrawn for homeschooling across all grades, you had 11.
Mm-hmm.
New withdrawals to private schools, you had 15. New withdrawals to school choice out was 8. So
those are more concerning to me than some of the other numbers, rather than that we lost 20 school choice students, is that we've lost more than that. We've lost 30 something students. That's
right. And that's why we're saying minimally we need 20, but in actuality, so if we go back a screen, how did we determine how many seats we actually have here? We included in the numbers that you see there where we say resident, non-resident, grand total, we included all of these numbers.
the withdrawals.
The withdrawals in before identifying the number of seats, because we're hoping that many of these, that they left because of the changes in our structure, educational structure, that they'll be returning. Okay, so, that was one of the things everyone was concerned about, like, what if those people come back and then you filled their seats? So we specifically did it using these numbers so that we weren't overfilling. To talk about, the elephant in the room of capacity. So if you look at fifth grade, so fifth grade has 13 with an asterisk next to it. To maintain all of the grades here in the building, our proposal for this coming school year would be to have 2 fifth grades. We currently have 3 fifth grades. The fifth grade will move up to 6th grade, and that third teacher would go to 6th grade, leaving 2 fifth grade teachers. Eventually, if you look at the numbers, when third grade makes their move to the next grade and hits 5th grade, you're not going to be able to not do something, okay? Right now, we're able to do, you probably could do, if no new residents move in, 2 years of what's it called? Not flipping, what's the word?
Rotating.
Going back and forth. Teachers do it.
Looping.
Looping. You could have 2 years of looping, but once that third grade class gets up to 5th grade, you're not going to be, all the numbers following behind are high. And so my recommendation to the committee is that you need to pull together a committee to look at this long-term on how you want, to address this. But you have 2 years of looping as long as you don't have an influx.
You suggesting
residents.
that the kids will actually loop with their teacher at that traditional, or you're just saying 2 years of just having?
I'm saying that right now,
Just to
5th
clarify.
grade has 44.
Yep.
Students. So you could do 2 classrooms this year. That teacher, and then
22
the
and
6th grade
22,
needs,
yeah.
the 6th grade needs 3.
And now is this where it says 5th grade, is that this year's current 4th graders? And we're projecting that next year they'll be 5th graders?
Yep. Yeah, so everything moved up, but we used, if you look again on the last page, we used all of these numbers to make that the number of seats. Bill, you gotta go back again.
Yeah, see, I'm confused with that math. I feel like I'm looking at something incorrectly.
So,
So if all return, because we did lose a significant amount of students and,
okay, so if you look at the last page,
yep,
okay? If all first grade, so return, you would have 56 students. So we're recommending 4 seats. There's no guarantee that these 12 students are all going to come back. Okay, you have non-resident school choice. You have withdraw school choice out and you have private school. So cautiously, we're saying 4.
So this is the second to last chart, not the very
right.
last
So
chart.
so the chart though, you just said it's cautiously, because so
Are you
that
tracking?
56,
We're leaving room for those residents
them.
that left to return.
right,
I don't want to take a seat away from the chance of opening up a seat when any of those parents that left this year may want to come back.
have we surveyed the students who left this year about next year?
We have not done that yet. I would,
Yeah. I'm with you. I can understand why we wouldn't right now. Like, let's.
right, I wasn't going to
Uh-huh.
do
Right,
this
right.
ahead of
Right,
Exactly.
talking with you.
Right.
right,
That, depending on how we end up this evening, we may do that. because if they aren't returning, then we open another seat.
Right.
But in all of these situations, we did it where we made sure that there was room for every single one of those that left to return before adding seats.
The only question that kind of pops up in my mind, and anyone else feel free to jump in, sorry, I'm first one, is, so obviously and I'm on the second to last page. I don't know if that's, am I looking at the right?
It's the one on the board?
Mhm. I believe so.
Yep.
So when I start thinking about, okay, we've got 2 years, then we've got to decide. Well, realistically, this should be starting now.
Well, that's what I'm
I
saying.
mean,
You have to put a committee
So that's
together to look at
Right.
this long-term.
The other thing that kind of pops into my mind too, though, is, if we're being thoughtful in our planning, that instead of maxing out and adding a bunch of kids to every other grade, do you consider, okay, what could be our other grade that could potentially only be 2 to keep class size small?
And
So
those
then
are all things that a committee should get together and look at.
But we have this choice to make today too. So
Right.
then, like, in that regard, the committee is not formed yet. So then we kind of need to be that
Mhm.
thoughtful committee at this
Yep.
point of, do we want 4 added to first grade? 'Cause that looks like it's the next smallest group that's in East Meadow coming up.
But you also have 8 potential returning. So that's why it only says 4.
But is the grand total not 48 or is it potentially?
No, it's
40?
it's
It's potentially 48.
It's 56 if we count those back in, but it's
So, so
only
this
48.
chart, this chart needs to be updated
Right.
then, because this chart
Right.
here with the 56 does not match the grand total of
That's what I was
48.
asking
Okay,
before.
no, because this is current.
Right, but the
This is
current,
But we are adding the 7 in.
But no.
So we're adding the 7 to the 48, so you get the 56. So this is if everybody returned, you would have 56 first graders, at which point we said, okay,
Right.
3 classes of 20, we would add 4 students because you don't want them any more than 20.
But-
I mean, the reality is, I don't know how many seats we posted last year, but we didn't get very many. So you could post 68 seats and get 10, it's all, like,
Yeah. you never know.
it's all depending on whether or not there are kindergartners out there that want to come here, or first graders or second graders.
And when I look at it though, I think, okay, the potential of none of those first graders coming back, I'd rather almost not add those 4 school choice in there and see what happens and play the game, and we can always add in later if we needed to.
Right, I mean,
Like, I feel like,
that's,
Right, it almost gives you like a reserve of like, this is our one small
Mhm.
grade.
Yep.
If we have to potentially go to 2, this would be the cluster.
so you don't have to, so
But-
in order to do this year, we have 1 classroom available. We have a reduced number of preschool this year. So we're going to rotate the rooms so that there is another room.
for what grade level?
So it would be for the 6th grade. Because right now, we're using one of the special ed rooms for a classroom. And it can only fit, I believe, 15 on a regular, it's a smaller class, 12 kids. And so that classroom would now go back to being a special ed classroom, and we would have a full-size classroom for this year. Because right now, the numbers for preschool are, I think we can make it the year.
For
I don't-
next year,
for-
you're saying,
for
for
this-
21, 22.
21, 22. The following year, we're going to have to revisit pre-K because I think we're going to have some more 3-year-olds at that year. But right now, we can do it.
Okay.
Okay, I was gonna say, all of that being said, I'm not saying that we don't need to revisit and that we can just try to keep tweaking numbers here and there. I realize that this is something we really do need to look into. I want to be transparent with that. But I'm just trying to give us, it is something that a committee would need to be formed sooner rather than later.
Yep, no, totally agree.
The other thing, and then again,
Oh, Bill's trying to say something.
Yeah, just real quick, just to clarify, those 7 seats coming back to first grade are more than likely going to happen, just so you know. Those are 7 seats that are coming from Children First. Kindergartners who attended Children's First this year that are slated to come back here, on this next page. So that's how we know that we're going to be closer to that 56 number than we are at the 48 number. So this number is not going to stay 48. Audrey, I think it was you that was saying that's our next smallest. It's a given that that's going to go up. Those 7 kids are slated to come back here,
Okay, that just concerns me a bit because then I feel like the chart that we're kind of trying to make decisions off of with how many school choice seats are available may not actually be.
No, that's the 50, that's the 56 on the
Not
next
this one.
one. It's the 56 on the next page.
Yeah,
Those
but
are
the seats available isn't
Correct.
next to
It's on
that.
the wrong
It's on the
slide.
wrong slide.
Or should be also on this slide. I
well,
agree.
it says school choice in.
No, but it's not the proposed amount that they're
Right,
asking
it's not the
for
proposed
added
amount.
to your grand total of what's already there.
That's school
You know
choice
what I'm
in of
saying?
what currently is coming in. It's not what we're adding.
Right,
So
so
you have that, those same first 2 columns are choice in and residence, just like it was at the very beginning. Okay, it's the same column.
Right, but I feel like I'm on that, okay, look at that very last slide. If all return grand total, I wish there was a proposed right there next to it. And then what our new grand total would
All right,
be.
so hold on 1 second. Stacy's going to try to add that column for you.
perfect, because then do we really, if like Phil had just said, those 7 potential are looking to come back and it's
So we
56.
were looking at class sizes of 20. So potentially, if we were saying, so if all 7 don't come back and 1 doesn't come back, then we're going to say no more than 4, because 4 would put 20, 20, 20 is how we looked at it.
Right, but
But as I said, I mean, I'm presenting this to you as for, you to decide, how many seats would you like us to open in each grade? And you may say some grades you don't want us to open any.
But I also thought that the class size was a smidge larger. I thought it was like 23.
No. So for kindergarten, first and second grade, it's been under 20. So that 20 has
Is that
been.
what is contractually like agreed upon? I know. we're
No,
aiming
it's
for
not,
smaller
it's a
class
philosophy
sizes,
that.
but
The
when I-
philosophy is
I
that
do,
we
I
go
know
down
it's
for
in the,
school.
I know. I
Yeah,
know it's
that
in
when
the-
I came here, it was that was the thing.
Mhm.
Oh, no, we just went over, we need, like,
Oh, yeah, my
Yeah.
kid, my oldest had 25 in her kindergarten class. I
and
mean,
so they said we didn't want to do this anymore, so that's why I have it focused on 2020.
But that also doesn't leave us much room for residents moving to town, which like last year, if you looked at the numbers, we had a
Yep.
significant amount right in August that came in and threw a lot of our numbers.
Well,
off.
that's your second grade,
So
I think.
That's
that
our
year.
tricky part
That's-
too, is
that's
adding
your
that.
Third grade on this chart, yeah.
But that's also something we're gonna have to plan for going forward, because at some point, this building can only hold so many kids. And there is building going on in town, there's no if ands or buts about that, so that at some point, we're gonna hit this part where we're really gonna also have to consider that as well, of, 20 be great. Do you know how many times I've had 20 kids in 15 years? Once, you know what I mean? And not to say that I absolutely think that small classes are important. I do. But we also have to feel and think about realistically of, and again, committee based, not just my thoughts and opinions. I'm not trying to, but look at the big picture of what is our
Well,
goal
that's, yeah,
for the
and that's why I
town
said,
too, and how we're gonna manage.
you
this.
need to pull together and decide. I mean, you also need to get the town to fund your schools a little better. you know? I mean, they.
That's a whole separate
Yeah, I was
conversation.
gonna say, so
we can
what,
about
so
to
what,
delve into.
yeah, right, so we can control here.
So I would go, so anyway, if you know, we look at kindergarten and
So are we in kindergarten, it's just a projected also, sorry.
it's
I
a
feel like I'm
projected.
jumping a lot,
So
but,
I,
it's
you
not
know,
based
I don't
on
know
the
if
census or
Bill has
anything?
the, you know, it's an estimate of, it's been around 50. So, Bill, I don't know if you have a current number right now.
Yeah, so the census that we're basing it off of that we do every year, there's 46 students on the census for incoming kindergarten. And then we usually pick up, you know, 5 or 6 somewhere in there over the summer. And it's not to say all 46 come, you know, that rolls, right? We might get 42 out of the census numbers, but then there's people that aren't on the census that come in too. So when we've gotten around that, it's been right around 50. Because don't forget that 44 that you're looking at there for first grade was actually 56 for kindergarten, but some of them went to children first, and the same thing might happen here. We've talked to Donna and we've taken off a couple that we know are going to children first already. Stacy said that if I,
Not all those 7 are. children first.
if I exit out, I think she added it. I'm not sure.
Well, you'd have to
I
go.
think I just finally figured it out anyway. So the goal is every grade level to be at 60. That's how you base your seats
That's
off
what
of.
we based it on.
Because now I'm like comparing the charts.
Yeah.
It just,
Yeah.
yeah, I can see there was just
Yeah.
that little confusion of how that equaled the
All right,
state.
so here's the numbers. She put it onto this slide for you.
Yeah, that makes sense. It just required me to do a little math. Not feeling it right now, but I got it. Okay. So we're aiming for 60. And
So
we're
the
back for
fifth
next.
grade, so the 5th grade one should be 0 because that's the grade that we're,
Wait, did she just update?
yeah, she put the line
Hang on,
next to it.
'cause now I gotta, is it updated in our folder or we just? have to
No,
look at that
no,
now?
just on here.
Okay.
So she
She'll
added,
send it to us though,
Yeah, I'm
right?
sure.
she added move the column over.
She put
know.
this column in here.
Thank you, Stacy.
Thank you.
But that 13 in grade 5
That
is
was
troubling.
only if you were gonna go with 3 classrooms.
But we don't have the room in the building to go with the
Correct.
class.
So that's why that's why there was 2 asterisks next to it to say 0 openings if only 2 classrooms.
And are we projecting that it will be only 2 classrooms because we haven't found?
So, I mean, it is the smallest group, you know, and so to me, it's the easiest because they moved to 6 and then back down.
This grade also specifically did start out as only 2 grades in kindergarten.
Yeah, that was.
And then they opened up to 3.
Yeah.
So they have done it before because this has been a small class.
I mean,
So-
again, the caveat becomes if someone moves in.
Well, that's it. We have to, you know, we might be revisiting this depending if we have, you know.
Well,
5 or
If someone
6
moves in, we might have to have a larger class, you know, instead of
Absolutely.
20, it's, you know, gonna be 21, 20, or
Well, for
whatever. I
that
mean,
group though, it ended
So
up being
in the
25
upper
and
grades,
25.
yeah,
Yeah,
in the
that'll
upper
be a big
grades, yeah,
class.
you can go up to, you know, to 25.
Right.
So anyway, we projected 10 for kindergarten, 4 for first, 3 for second, 6 for fourth, 2 for 6th grade, and then 7 through 12, you have 7th grade, the high school, Granby Junior Senior High School, Stephen is saying 11, 6. They only take 7, 8, 9, and 10. They don't take school choice for 11, 12.
why is that?
I don't know. Stephen, are you on there?
I don't think so.
I was just gonna ask.
Is it?
Or
like-
My assumption is just you're so late in the game at.
Yeah.
I know, but
11 and
people
12.
do it.
People move
But
in.
if there was someone
Oh,
interested,
no,
well, they
This
move
is
in,
school
that's
choice.
residence.
This isn't about moving in.
Yeah, but I don't see why you wouldn't take, I mean, I know of Granby sophomores and juniors that transferred out this year, not because of COVID, just they left because of sports. So
Did we find,
I don't know why
I think
we
it's a
wouldn't.
more, I think it
The
is a more
assumption is
common
that,
process.
yeah,
With, like-
at grades 11 and 12, I guess the remediation, I guess, to catch them up, the cost of educating them for the next 2 years compared to what receiving, I would assume plays into it. Somebody transferring out you're saying
but
someone
someone said it
transferred
would
out
set
to
them.
another district.
Yeah, I find that interesting.
Not
I
if
think
it's school choice.
I think it's courses of study too.
right?
I think-
But like, why
It's-
not open it if we need the revenue?
Because I mean, like, I know of a
Have the
junior that went to
space.
South Hadley.
I really think the students that you're getting transferring in as a junior or senior are looking to transfer in, maybe not because
Exactly.
they
Yep.
had
Non-academic.
successful
Yeah,
school careers.
non-academic
That's,
or.
in this particular case, that's not at all. It's 100% based on athletics.
I was just gonna say, I know two 11th
yeah.
graders that went elsewhere as well. So that's really, it's tricky to,
Well said, Jill.
I understand that
I
reservation,
always-
but there are exceptions to that. Like,
Sure, I'm sure
Oh,
there's
sure, yeah,
exceptions to every
sure.
rule.
so it's
but
really tough to just make it a zero
I
when,
just think it's a common practice in many school districts that after 10th grade, there's no school choice openings.
So in our choice, then, we have kids that are choicing out, that are new choices out in those grades.
Well,
And
that's because
so where are these
they
kids going,
went,
right?
they went to Tech, I believe.
We've got,
Yeah, there was quite a few.
You have a 12th grader
Amherst,
that
Pelham,
went to Tech.
Belchertown, Frontier Regional, South Hadley.
No, but those
Tech.
are all the grades, but. the
No, no,
real-
that's-
no, it's
that's
11
the-
and 12.
That's the senior
So,
line.
So they're
But
pretty,
that's not just this year.
Or that's
Right.
year,
No, no,
that's
no.
not just
The
this
grade
year.
level.
you had no withdrawals for 10th, 11th, or 12th.
Then that chart's not right, because I know of at least 6 students that have left.
No, have left. We're talking this year left.
Yeah, I know of people in the upper grades that have left this year. 10, 11, and I'm pretty sure senior.
They may have left last year because
No,
we
they
had
left
some in, they,
This year.
interesting.
well, Stacy says 2 in 11th. 2 11th graders.
2 11th graders, and there should be a sophomore.
Did they go to public? I mean, it just seems odd to,
2 in 10th, 2 in 11th, she's saying.
Yep, but that's not, I don't see that on here.
Well, there is a.
No, there's a
withdrawal for
2, new
school
withdrawal,
choice
2
and
school
10.
choice,
10.
and
But there's not the 2 in the 11th for new withdrawn choice out.
I have a homeschool 11th.
Yeah, there isn't.
Okay.
I mean, like, I know these people personally, so I know their names, and
Okay.
they're not reflected. And I know we've seen that number, the disconnect before.
Yes.
So I don't know, I mean.
Well,
this-
we're
this
getting
student
our
hasn't been
numbers,
here.
we're getting our numbers from the state. So that's how.
Well, so here's the
For our new
thing.
withdrawn
I'd
numbers
like,
are from the
I'd
state?
like our numbers to be what our enrollment is of what we have for butts and seats, because this is where I feel like it gets
But
a
that's
little
where we get our
contentious and a
money
little
from.
upsetting.
Okay, here's
It'll
where,
never,
this
it'll
is.
never tie out.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, Jen, go ahead, and then I'll,
So as a parent, when I'm looking at districts, I'm not going to school, I'm going to a state website. The state, when we're reporting, they're going to have the numbers and they're going to dictate what those enrollment numbers are. So when we do the October enrollments, it's it's a picture in time of what it is. So what happens is, because things fluctuate all the time, this number is going to be constantly changing.
I'm with you 100% on that, but what I'm saying is this right here, our numbers from the state are not reflective of a person I know personally, like someone that I would call a friend, is not reflected in the withdrawn choice out for
Stacy's
11th grade.
raising her hand. She said, Stacy wants to come in because she says, I am, it is, it's there, I'm raising my hand. She says it's there.
I'm promoting her now.
Okay.
No.
Welcome, Stacy.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, everybody. Yes, so it looks like on the first slide, it just got deleted off. If you look at the very last slide, it's there.
Yep, new withdrawn for choice L.
So it looks like just when everything got moved around, the one in 11th grade got bumped out. But there's 2 in 11 and there's 2 in 10.
Well, that doesn't give me a whole bunch of faith if the slide that we need is got, you know, we've got stuff that's not right to make a decision.
Well, no, this is right. This gives you your 716.
Yep.
There is just one slide. I can easily put the 2 back in. It just got erased when we were in tweaking. This slide is exactly the same one that is on the first slide. These are the same numbers.
Stacy, did the 2 in 11th grade go to public school? For their choice?
Yes.
One went to South Hadley, I know.
Okay, just because we were talking about typically not doing 11, 12, I was just curious what districts they went to. Because, and South Hadley's a neighboring, so that's interesting.
I also have Steven on the phone just to verify because he's watching it on YouTube, so he's not able to get online. And he verified that 2 and 11th is what that is. He said, you know, and the other important piece of this is, Stacy, this is Sims data, right?
Yes. So this is the data that is going to be sent as of March 1st. So as of yesterday, the new Sims opened. So all of these numbers will be reflected in the March Sims.
So these are the same numbers in the March Sims, or the March Sims are updated?
No, these will be the numbers for March Sims. So it's as of March 1st. So any data that you see here is what is going to be sent to the state.
Okay.
Jen, did you have any questions for Steven while I have him on the phone?
I didn't have a question for Steve.
Actually, I do. Can you ask him just his thought real quick on school choice for 11 and 12?
Yeah, I'm sure. So, Stephen, one of the questions they were asking was, and Jill kind of answered a little bit, but you know, your answer about why there's no school choice in for 11 and 12.
Well, typically we haven't opened up to 12. I'm certainly open to it, but then when it gets to graduation requirements and things like that, sometimes we or students end up having to jump through hoops, or they have to overload their schedule in order to get to the local requirements.
Did you catch that?
Yep, I totally understand it for 12. That makes total, I get it. All right,
How
thank
different
you.
are graduation requirements from school to school?
How different are graduation requirements from school to school, Stephen?
They're all local decisions, really, outside of Mass Core, and not everybody even really adheres to Mass Core, although we have. So it's really a local decision.
So what happens is we end up with a student that comes to us and we have a requirement that's higher than where they came from.
Right.
And so as Stephen said, they're doubling up on classes in order to meet our graduation requirement.
We would have to do that if a junior moved in or. Moved in.
Yeah, but correct. Okay. Can we go back to the numbers so we can see if we can come to some decision here?
I can, hang on. All right, hang on, let me mute so you're not getting double sound.
Sorry.
No, I'm muting, I've lost my.
Oh, yeah. We're not in the right page.
So if we vote for this, is it possible to just keep it so that our numbers would not exceed what's, like, we're talking about these numbers fluctuating. Like, I would just be concerned, like, say there was one year we had like 6 kids come in August in one grade level.
No,
that moved to
I'm
town.
here and.
Could we like cap it
If
to
you want
meet
to say
that
5 for kindergarten, 1 for, you know, like.
Well, I'm thinking more of the overall 60 number. Like, I don't know, is that a possibility?
Anything's possible, however we want to do it. We just have to decide how we want to do it.
Because then what we do is we have to notify, can I borrow your pen? Because if they're gonna give me a number, I'm writing it down.
60.
Oh.
Took a long time to add it up.
One more thing, I just asked Stephen about 11th grade, and he said that because the numbers are high there too, is why, because you see they're higher there this year for 11 and 12 also, you know, that's one of the reasons why they didn't have choices in for.
They already have 10 school choice.
So in the total number, in the total enrollment, so.
But in the high school, it is a little bit different, right? We've gone around and around about that before, because they're not sitting necessarily with only people in their grade. They're sitting, you know, they could be sitting for, what are those classes called? The ones they get to choose? Electives. You know, like the electives or whatever their schedule.
All right, so it's
has,
different.
you
Yep,
know, so
true.
it's, there's room. So, I mean, I understand, we're probably not gonna get them. I just feel like if we need the school choice so much, then we should be,
Well, but even still, 7th is not up to 60. 8th is not up to 60.
yeah, so it's like weird.
9th is not
Why?
up to 6, like, none of those are.
Well, here's the thing is when you're going, so in 6th grade,
All right,
are losing because they're going to private schools. And then from 8th to 9th grade, you can start losing because now students are going to vocational.
No, but what she's saying is that we could open up the number of seats to
proposed
make the
seats.
class to 60 in those
Right.
spots.
Right.
So,
It could, I mean, we're doing it based on this year and we're saying 6. But say we have like other students move out going to vocational in 9th grade, that could open up even more.
well, and Stephen wants to keep open in case that they get some students that move in. Because, you know, the last couple of years, there's been students moving in. So he also wants to keep that in mind over in that column, you know, if we get residents moving into town.
we didn't do that in any of the East Meadow stuff though. We've got them all maxed out to 60.
Right. That's
Right.
That should be a conscious
No, we
thing.
have
for both.
0 for the 67 group.
I said we brought them all up to their 60. We didn't leave any room for any kids that
growth.
moved up.
Well, no, we have the withdrawals. that
Other
we don't
people
know.
moving into town, Carol, is what I'm saying.
No, I'm saying, but we included all of the withdrawals out of.
I
those
get
here.
it. I'm
Right,
100%.
I'm looking at the if all return and then proposed seats at the high school, they left room for, like Jen's saying, for people to potentially move in, but we
Okay.
did not do that in East Meadow. So
Right,
if
exactly. We
there's
just accounted for
57
the withdrawals,
you
not
know,
for
if
any
all
Okay.
budget
return,
movement.
we
So how
kept
many
it every time.
kindergartners?
Huh?
It's 9:37. How many kindergartners?
I'm good to go.
Should have had your caffeine.
We have executive sessions still.
I know. I gotta go home and finish my stuff for tomorrow.
Yeah, so I mean, how many do we want to leave as a potential then? And again, I understand that this is all like if all return, if whatever else, do we want to consciously
We will
leave?
revisit it once we put out that we have seats, we'll know how many applicants we have. We will survey the people that left to find out if any are returning, you know, but, and come back. We may come back to you and say, you know, we have, you know, we said 6 kindergarten and, you know, we found out that we're only going to have so many, and this is, you know, we can come back and we can always tweak it. Once you put it out, people will apply, and then we'll decide, you know, whether or not we have more seats or less seats.
So this is like what we did, last year. We can change it. We can say right now, this is what we want it to be based on how students move between the grades each year.
So you
But
want to,
like last year, we can change this like we did last year.
No, but I don't want to be reactive. I'd rather be proactive.
But the problem is we're not being proactive based on the budget. If we limit, if we really restrict and we don't get the required, this is projected,
Right,
so this isn't guaranteed.
right.
So we could have all these openings and in kindergarten, they may say, well, I don't want to go there. So we get 2 students instead of 10.
Right. But even in K, do we say, let's go with 8 instead of 10 to leave a potential 2 seats? And then if somebody else comes up,
Yeah, we
okay,
can
we'll
do that.
consider it then, you know?
I know personally for me, rather than going number by, or grade by grade, I would be willing to just look at keeping the grand total at 60 in every grade, K through 12. So whether that means tomorrow we lost another child, that would bump up another school choice seat, rather than having to come back and forth.
But the problem is you have some where you can't take any, so when you.
Right.
post
Right, so then that one
So
just
then-
wouldn't apply.
Yeah,
Right,
so
but when
if
you
the class
post it,
side
you-
is more than 60,
Then we just, it's a 0.
so like grade 3, we're not taking any.
Correct.
Because that includes any withdrawals potentially coming back, right? So
Right.
that's what that
Mhm.
number means.
Yep.
But like she's saying,
Yep.
and we wouldn't take any seniors because they're at 66. But we'd be able to take one junior because that's brings the round number to 60. We could take 14 in grade 7 to bring the number to 50,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah,
So
we could
If
take
that's how
9
you
in
want-
grade 10.
Right, if that's how you want to do it, that's how we'll do it.
It actually opens up more spots than what we're looking at right now in certain grade levels.
I'm also not opposed to keeping it sort of like a tiered approach. Use what they've got here, and then they can come to us if there's anything that goes above that, that brings it up to the 60.
Perfect. Perfect.
Does that make sense? Like a
Yeah.
tiered approach, like we're gonna use this as the guide to open this number of seats.
Mhm.
And then anything that goes over this suggested number of seats, they would have to come to us, but the lower grades, it's not gonna, because they're already up
Yeah,
to
we
that
can't-
60
right.
number.
I would just not have any reservations personally if we did have another, 4 students in grade 8, or like, I wouldn't even think to come to us to go over, because right now they're only at, grade 8, for example, is at 57. So if they had 3 more, like, that would be totally fine. That they wouldn't have to come to us, because some of the high school is projected as being, it looks like it's a much more reserved.
Yeah, because they're
Numbers.
allowing. for
Grade 7
residency.
is 46 and taking 11, so it's 50. I mean, it's a much more reserved number in the high school.
So.
And I would not want to limit anyone who wants to join our high school community.
Yeah, and I mean, I will just say that I feel like these numbers were put out there for a reason and with thought. And if we are not opposed to what the numbers look like to begin with, then, obviously Stephen put the numbers out in the high school the way he did with reason, and same with Phil. And if we're not opposed to the numbers as they stand, then I, for one, am kind of okay with moving forward with them as they are. And then if there needs to be changes to them, then that's when we're requesting that information come to us.
Yeah, I guess my only reservation is I feel funky about feeling like one building is being more reserved for growth and one isn't. If we're not, it's like not an apples to apples number.
I don't think you can look at it in terms of apples to apples when you're looking at elementary or primary and secondary. Historically, what school choice looks like.
Right, but then in that, if you're talking historically, we should be more reserved. Would actually be the other way around.
I just mean with what
Who
the,
actually shows up.
correct.
I'll tell you, it gives me a huge wrench in my gut because I really don't want to have another conversation about space next week, or a month from now.
Well, I think that's.
But
why-
it needs to happen. So
Yeah, that's-
It's gonna have to happen,
right.
and
It's not gonna
I'm
happen
100%,
next week.
but it's gonna
No.
be,
I gave you
I
2
feel like
years.
we're gonna open stuff up and it's gonna be a surprise and we're gonna have no room for people again.
Well, so that's my only question that I am interested to hear is, should we be thoughtful with another potential grade of not taking on all of the school choice seats for that reason?
Like keeping one grade
Well, right now,
specifically.
you
Other
have-
than the 5th grade that has 0, is there
Right.
another grade that we should consider that like potentially could mindfully be smaller, or do we just go with it?
Well, did you not talk about the pre-K or was that?
It's
already
But that's only
asked?
for 2 years.
But in that time, is the committee?
You're
not
gonna
going
put
to
a
be
committee
willing to
together
talk
and
about
make a
that?
determination on how you're gonna address this.
So is pre-K definitely going to one class for the next year?
Pre-K is going to one class. If we end up with any, then we may have to be creative.
That's what I'm
And,
worried about.
That's,
you
I mean,
know,
they're,
partner with the library maybe, or, think of,
That's my concern though, is then,
right now, the preschool, you have to remember, preschool is focused on students with disabilities. Okay, that's why we have preschool. We have an integrated preschool because students with disabilities can't get into regular preschool because they have needs. So districts are responsible for providing an opportunity for them. Those students come from early intervention where they've had special services beforehand. The numbers we have for the district for early intervention are lower this year. So even, I mean, we know when they're going to turn 3. So this year, we should be able to get by with 2 half sessions.
Comfortably.
Mhm.
I guess that's my only concern, is just like
Yep.
if we go forward with this and then in a month now we have to be
No.
creative because more preschoolers came and then we don't have
No.
that room. I
No,
would then
because
feel,
it's the peers. We can only take so many peers. And we'll only take, you can have 7 students with disabilities and you can have 8 peers. You can also have 8 students with disabilities and 5 peers. You know, you can have a smaller if
so
you
you
had
kind
to.
of control
You can control.
the
you
size
just
to a
can't-
point.
Right, you can't get to 10 and, you know.
Right, it has to be a
it's gotta
ratio.
be-
I'm afraid to even ask this question, but might as well. Day's been going so great. I'm wondering, do we even know what space requirements will be looking like for, I mean, like, I know there's a push to go back to school. We want to get
So
people back in,
typically,
but I mean, are we're projecting 100% back to normal except for masks in the fall?
typically, you're 3 feet apart mostly anyway from seat to seat.
But it depends on how you measure it, right? Whether it's seat middle to seat
Yeah,
middle or
but-
seat edge to seat edge.
You know, it's approximately 3
Right.
feet. So pretty much, I see everybody, there's going to be a lot of vaccination. There's going, everything is opening up. I see September being, back to normal
With masks.
with masks.
So do you think that with 3 feet in a standard classroom at East Meadow, we can accommodate 20?
Is that the max we can go?
Is there a number that, I remember like in the fall when we were measuring, I thought we actually had looked at 3 and 6.
Three, you could get most classrooms. But I don't think there's going to be restrictions come the fall. I think you're going to find that it's mask wearing, hand washing, yes, maybe at lunch because your masks are off, but I don't foresee it being 6 feet in the fall. Not by then, you're going to have most people vaccinated.
I said, like, my hangup is still going forward of beyond those 2 years. Will we have found a solution and solved our problem in 2 years' time?
Well,
But then we come back to this.
Work at it, we can.
Can I say too, that in 2 years' time, you'll also have 2 additional grade levels at K coming in.
That could be bigger.
They could, but we'll have 2 years to work on a solution, or with the committee, work on a solution. And you'll have 2 additional grade levels coming in that could be smaller or not, we cannot choose to include
Right.
school choice
To keep.
to
So
keep that grade.
if we have 1 grade coming in, like right now we have 5th grade, 2 classrooms. So by the time they get to 6th grade, the next year we could have the kindergarten, 2 classrooms. So that but then it's a problem with teachers.
That's why you put a committee together.
Yeah.
Mhm. Okay, so
So we have two
we're going with the numbers. We're going with the numbers on the chart. Stephanie wants to go higher. Audrey wants to go lower.
No, I don't want to go lower in all grades. I just want to be thoughtful.
I didn't want to go higher.
You know
in
what I
grades.
mean? And I mean, this,
But again.
I'm not like trying to say we should go lower, but I do like how Stephen's thoughtfulness on that. But
I
I'm
also think that we
fine.
have to remember this is if all return, and as I hope everyone comes back, but there are going to be those families that choose to stay in whatever
Yeah.
avenues they did go in. So this is
Yep.
also, in a sense, there almost is a little reserve built in because I think
True.
it'd be really
You're
ambitious to
right.
assume that we're going to get full return.
Okay, so I'm gonna go with the numbers that are here. And
So you just bring it back to us.
Yeah. I mean,
So
if
we
you
open it
want
up now
to
and then-
apply, we're going to tell you.
Right.
Well, will you tell us as people apply for
Yes.
any grade anyway? Because
Yes.
if we get uncomfortable, if
We
we
can-
start hearing
we
that
can
residents
add
are coming in, can we stop it?
We can add it and, you know.
That would be
I can
great, like
report
just
out.
updated to have like a live
Yep.
chart going that you can
Yep.
show us at future
Because
meetings.
one of the things is, as we know, there's a ton of new construction in town right now, which is fantastic. But a lot of the houses that are being built look like houses for families. They're larger homes. So what I'm hoping is, if you can keep us updated on that, we'll add it to the agenda on a rolling basis. What I'd like to see is if we also hear that, it becomes on our radar, like, I don't know what the process is, if someone moves into town, when we find out about that. But just kind of keep us updating.
Parents are usually
Updated.
pretty good about contacting us and saying, I'm having a house built, I'll be coming, blah, blah, blah. So,
I do have a comment to make that sometimes we have school choice, but those are the families building houses in our community. So they no longer become school choice students, they're now attended students.
Mhm.
So it's just, the number doesn't change, they just swap categories.
Absolutely. Yeah, I kind of want to
Just
keep
be
a tally
mindful.
on it. Like Audrey and Stephanie are saying, let's be
Yep.
mindful, let's be thoughtful and try to do it because it really gives me like a lump, like, oh,
And can we get a survey out to the families who did leave? Now that you have this to see
Yep.
what our return looks like.
it might
Yep.
be too soon.
I think it will be too soon. I think it needs to be after
I'd
April, to be
actually like to
honest.
hold, I'd like to hold off on the survey
Yes.
until we hurdle,
Yeah.
clear
Right?
the more imminent hurdle
Yes.
about how and when we've got full return to, and if we have full
Right.
return
Yeah.
to.
so.
Because I don't think it makes sense to ask right now. Those people
Totally
left for a
agree.
reason and they're gonna be
Okay.
like.
Yeah, we'll go with these numbers to be able to at least put it out there so parents who are interested can apply. So I need you to vote. I think you have to vote for
Mhm.
this.
Someone want to make a
All right,
motion?
so I'll make a
Keep making them
motion.
tonight. I'm waiting for someone else.
I'll make a motion to approve the school choice for FY 21-22 school academic year.
I'll second.
Any last minute comments, questions, shots? All right, all those in favor? Aye. There you go, Carol. Approved unanimously.
See, I told you. I had a good
Awesome.
feeling.
Okay.
Okay,
Superintendent's
Agenda.
all right. Superintendent's report.
I got nothing.
All done.
That's really not acceptable.
I have a question.
Just kidding.
Adam?
Yes, I don't have much either. Next week, well, next meeting will be, a FY 22 budget presentation, preliminary, and, FY 21 budget update. So next meeting for me will be, a lot of information. Other than that, we are good. Facilities, maintenance wise, food service wise, everything is, moving along. So quiet. This meeting for me, next meeting will be, I'll have a lot of information to share. with
I
everybody.
haven't heard back from anyone on our joint meeting request at this point.
Okay.
So it's out there. I mean, I think I copied everybody, right? So
Did have a question for you regarding facilities and phasing in more students. How is the plan for lunches specifically to still serve, prep and cook at East Meadow and then bring over to the high school?
Unfortunately, that's our only option at this point because the kitchen, not the cafeteria, but the kitchen at the high school, we can't use. So
How, who, I'm sorry, but under whose can we not use it? Like when,
So that's based on the engineering company, the engineering firm that we
David.
hired to do
Yeah.
the studies, not here, but next door. But based on ventilation, air exchanges, all of that, that we
So-
cannot be prepping food for, cause contamination. We just, that kitchen is not, how it's set up right now is not
And it did bring the
Can't use it.
issues out, like now we know that, like,
Absolutely.
we can't really turn a blind eye.
So again,
to-
it's good timing because we had a call this morning. We know that hopefully, we're hopeful that next year we're back in school full time, and that means we're gonna need to use that kitchen and nothing there's nothing that's gonna change whether we can use that or not unless we do some work in the kitchen. So we had conversations this morning.
Yep.
We got that ball rolling. It's gonna be a lengthy process. We're gonna need the town's help in some capacity.
So let me ask you this then. I mean, we've been using that kitchen for a good long time.
So that's,
So if the governor and Commissioner Riley are pushing back on us for full return to school, why is it then, if we're doing that, that now the kitchen is not acceptable?
that's a good question, and
Can we
yes,
ask
were
that?
operating, yeah, but I mean.
I
think-
understand it needs work. The whole freaking building. needs
Yeah.
work,
But I
right?
think it was
we
like an
get-
exceptional, I think it's an
But-
exceptional
but just-
problem.
Yeah, just knowing now what we know about the virus and the lack of ventilation and air exchanges and just being.
There's no
versed in
Band-Aids
all
in
of
the
that,
kitchen.
like, it wouldn't be a responsible decision to do it, but I understand.
What the issue is that the only vent pulling air through that is in the kitchen. So it's
Where the food is.
Where the food
where
is,
the
so it's
food is
just,
being prepped.
there's no
and
makeup
where-
air.
But I feel like this is a good conversation for us to have if anyone's still with us at 9:30 at night. But I feel like they're gonna miss it, but I'm hoping that they're still there because this is part of those things that
Yeah.
we're looking at right now too, when we're making these
And
decisions.
it goes, honestly, it goes to, we had parents sign up, 300 parents sign a petition to get us back in school. We need those same 300 parents to be on the town, that we need more funding. We need the school
Yes, please.
improvements at the school. We
Yes.
need all this. So as much passion as everyone's got, we need it when it comes to this stuff too.
Jen,
So, I know the governor said that some schools can open, there will be exceptions. Could we get a grant to help with that? Just because I know he was saying that some schools may not be able to open the way he wants them to based on the conditions of
So-
the school.
So, yeah, so based on the, and I don't know how much you want to share, based on the conversations we had this morning, we had done, when we got the roof vents put on at the high school,
Mhm.
there was some oversight and it should have been done then. It wasn't done. We kind of realized it too late. We were hopeful that the roof project, even though it was late in the process, could fund us making the improvements that we needed in the cafeteria or the kitchen. It can't. In the meantime, we had gotten some quotes for the architect and the vendors who did the roof work to come back and do a study for the cafeteria and the kitchen to see what we needed. So long story short, based on our meeting this morning, we're gonna at least get the ball rolling and have that study done. It's gonna cost us a minimal amount of money, but we won't know what we need until we have this study done. So we're gonna do that. There are some grant opportunities. I was looking at it today. There's a community project or community facilities project grant. The wording on who's eligible is kind of iffy, but I reached out to our like district
One
person.
of the stipulations about openings.
Mhm.
It is not all, because a lot of the schools in Massachusetts are really, really old.
Yeah.
So.
we
a lot
had one of the
schools-
oldest until we got this one.
Yeah, but he did state that there will be some difficulties for schools,
Mhm.
some schools to reopen at full capacity. And he knows that, and that's why I was asking.
Yeah, no,
But to clarify, it doesn't affect us opening at capacity. It's just really is going to be a burden on our cafeteria workers.
So the thing, for the
to
rest
bring
of this
lunches
year,
there.
if we were to get back April 1st, for the rest of this year, myself, Ken, we would make it work for the rest of this year. But if we're hopeful and expecting to open it full next year, we could not prep meals and serve meals at East Meadow at the same time we're doing it for the high school. Just, we wouldn't have the capacity to do it.
Did you ever find out that magic number of how much we can spend on the high school before we have to bring everything up to code?
We don't, but we could get it, but the town would have to assess the building at a certain value.
Right, it's the value.
It's a percentage of the value of the building. I don't know what that value is. I'm not sure if it's been done recently, we could reach out.
I'd like
and
to know that, because here's the thing, we've got all of these things coming up. We know that the high school is a hurdle, and this is one of the ways in which it's an immediate hurdle. If we need to open full on, we do not have a functioning kitchen.
Mhm.
Kitchens are not cheap, especially if we start talking about return air and, everything else. I kind of want to have that, and, if we need to figure out who we need to ask or whatever, it's a number that I've been looking for a while,
Mhm.
and I just kind of want to know.
It's an excellent point. We've been talking about this too, because we all know the future of this building is kind of just hanging out there. What do we do with it, right? So we're well aware of that conversation. We've had that conversation. In terms of the kitchen, and we, again, had this conversation this morning, we're not talking about millions of dollars to
Repair.
upgrade it. We're talking, it's not
Right.
small money. We're talking a few $100,000.
Right, but
of
from what I
money.
understand, and again, it's a cumulative thing within a certain amount of time.
Yep.
So we've done money to the boilers, we've done money to doors, now we've added HEPA filters, we've done all of these things. and
Fraction of the cost of what that
But it's tick,
percentage. I understand what you're
tick, tick,
saying,
tick,
but.
tick,
Yep.
adding machine is going nuts.
Mhm.
And now we're gonna throw on a kitchen, and who knows what else is going to come out of it that if we need to bring the high school, because the high school's been the trouble building in order to bring
Well,
stuff
it's
back.
not a full kitchen. It's just a makeup air vent.
I'm willing to bet dollars to donuts, when you get in there and you start doing something, it's gonna
Certainly.
be,
So here's the other
Oh,
part of this too, is
I
that.
did not mean to open this box. I'm
No,
sorry.
So.
you owe me a
we-
donut.
We had the conversation this morning. There were some follow-up tasks that I had to do, some other people had to do before we kind of talked about this conversation, but it's out there now. So the other thing to remember is that the town has designated the high school as an emergency response shelter, which means if there is an emergency, we need to have a functioning
Yeah.
kitchen
Yeah.
and all that. Okay, so I don't know what responsibility the town has in helping us through the process. That's what we're kind of looking at. So that's where we're at right now. We've started that conversation. It's not a quick and easy fix, but we're exploring avenues and what we can do, the most we can do to help.
I love it.
Move that process along.
I'm really curious. I've asked before, so now I'm specifically asking. I'd really like what the dollars and cents of it is,
Mhm.
what that assessed value is,
Mhm.
what our current total is up against improvements,
Mhm.
how long we have to make that total amount of money, and everything else. Because you know what? I feel like I'm making a decision in a vacuum. Like, let's do this, let's go forward with this, but we don't really know we don't know what we don't know. And I feel like it's gonna be one of those triggers where it's gonna all of a sudden magically show up, and we're gonna be like, oh boy, we don't know, we didn't know. Now we're in a world of hurt because we didn't go through capital improvements or all of this other stuff. So I'd really appreciate if we could try to make some headway on that. And it's because it's become a pet peeve of mine, and I'm sure I'm boring the living daylights out of you, Adam, because I keep asking, but.
So again, you mentioned capital improvements. We had some other things submitted for capital improvements.
Mhm.
We're not sure if we can or not, but we're hopeful we may be able to shift what we asked for, not money-wise, but project-wise, and say, maybe we can use the money that we requested for updating the kitchen.
Fix this.
Okay,
Again, preliminary conversations this morning.
gotcha.
But I think we're heading in the right direction. We're gonna take our first step. We're gonna pay I think it's $12,000 or so for the architect to come in, do the study, and then we'll have more answers to know exactly what that kitchen will need to make it functional.
I love it.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie.
You're so welcome.
Appreciate that.
I thought that was gonna be really quick, actually.
No,
but
no.
I was
Ever
really
even
No.
think that?
because I was-
Jen, CES.
We have a meeting at the end of this month. They're in the process of looking for a director. I was on that committee to those directors.
Fabulous.
Yeah,
Committees are great. Okay, so. Is there anything else that we need to discuss that's not on the agenda? Do we want to extend the meeting any longer?
No, yeah,
We want to just chit chat for a bit?
Executive session?
executive session.
I know, I was just I'm punchy now, and it's 8 o'clock. So, all right. So we're now going to vote to enter into executive session under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21, Part 8, Section 3, to discuss strategy with regard to collective bargaining, as doing so in an open session may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the committee. The committee will not return to open session. Can you do the roll call, please?
Ms. Bartow.
Aye.
Ms. Karen.
Aye.
Ms. Fuller.
Aye.